All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Trading and Support webinar. Today's date is March the 30th, 2019. This is a Saturday morning webinar. And the title of today's webinar is True Trend and Object Trader to Maximize Entries and Targets, Stops, etc. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? We are going to get started. Neil says on UsingTrendLinesTradingWithObjectTrader, what if we don't make our target profit in 15 days? Well, Neil, that's a minimum of 15 days. You have to trade 15 days, but you've got longer than that if you need to. Let me just show you real quick. I went ahead and brought this in to show this morning because we're all about teaching people how to trade and, show people that we do know how. So obviously they will trust us. Now, this right here, just real quick, is my wife's. I told everybody yesterday that she qualified for the second tier of Top Step. Okay, notice that she's got 0 days complete because this starts on Monday. Okay, so this is step 2. See where that says step 2? That means that she's actually on that second evaluation. Now, OneUp does not have a second evaluation. Okay, where Top Step does. The one thing that they added when they did the second step is this right here. See this scaling plan right here? That's extremely important because if she trades over 3 contracts until she gets to 1,500, she'll lose this account. So, there are rules in these things. But I've gone through it, on the one for the family and everything. Got a funded account. I've showed it several times. And this is her account here. Okay, but on OneUp Trader, you just have to do the evaluation once. But see where this says a minimum of 10 days? That means I can take longer than 10 days to get there. Pardon me, Linda can, okay, because this is my wife's account. Like on my own personal, but it does mean that you have to trade a minimum of 10 days, which that's 2 weeks. Because, of course, there's only 5 days in a week trading-wise. And so that's literally, a 14-day period of time to get those 10 days. But that doesn't mean that she has to do it in 10 days period. It just means that she has to do a minimum of 10 days. She could take the whole next month. I'm kind of expecting her to actually take the month of April to do this, simply because now she's only allowed 3 contracts until she gets to that next level of 1,500. Once she gets there, she gets, I think, 5, and after that, she gets 7 or something. I'll have to look at the sheet. It shows their scaling plan if you ever want to look at it. You just go to this deal right here and see it says the scaling plan. It's based on the size of the evaluation account. So see, she has to start out below 151.5. She gets 3 lots, 151.5 to 152. 4 lots, 152 to 53.5, 53 to 54.5, 10, and then after that she gets 15. So, basically by the time she gets to this area here, that'll give her 2 instruments she could do 2 contracts each on. Okay, now probably at this stage she's going to do 3 contracts, on 1 instrument. Okay, but not at once. She'll probably scale in. Okay, but that's the way those scaling deals work. Anyway, enough for that because we're going to talk about trend lines today. I just want to show that just simply because kind of proud of it, because I've been trying to show her a lot of the things that I know about trading, and it seems to be panning out. But she does sit here with me when she does it. All right, why did she go with Top Step and not OneUp? Cross, on your question, basically, the only reason was that they had like a special going on, and I wanted her to have to go through the 2 evaluations and with that size of an account. And it was just basically because, we have people ask us all the time about Top Step and OneUp, And by having, both of them, I think it's good to know all the details about both of them. All right, what we're going to talk about today is trend lines, okay? Now, trend lines can be extremely important to your trading, okay? Because you don't have to look at colors, you don't have to look at anything more than what I consider to be called identified swings, okay? And when I mean identified, you can be looking at identified threes, you can be looking at identified ones or twos, and draw trend lines, okay? And let me show you right over here just real quick. We're going to talk about true trend quite a bit today. To give you a quick example, like right here, notice that I drew some trend lines on here, okay? And the reason I did is because you had a little thrust down, a little retrace, a little thrust down. See how you can get that trend line? Now this one didn't. Notice it double topped and you never got that little zigzag. So you didn't draw a trend line there. You didn't draw a trend line here because it double topped and didn't do the little zigzag. Now here it did. See, thrust, little retrace, little thrust, little retrace, little thrust. So you can draw the trend line. Everybody see that? That is extremely important, by the way, because otherwise you're going to end up getting into trend lines that won't work out. Does it need to be 3 thrust retrace, Mindy, on your question? No, what you really just want to do is you want like a little zigzag. Okay, see how this candle is down, this candle's down, that candle's up. That gives you where you're pretty sure you're going to get a swing, okay? Now, if this would have gone up, 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 and gone on up, you never got the trend line. But see how it did? It went down, up, down, up, down, up. And so by here, you were drawing it. See this right here? That was your drawing right there. I'll just back this up just a little bit so you can see it, because you could actually see this in real time. This would have been like this. You would have been going down, up, down, and once it broke that little swing through here, you're pretty sure that that's your trend line, right? Okay, so when you do that, you'll find that you can get into some pretty good little quick trades. Is that a decent trade? Yes, and you could do that with your trend line feature on ObjectTrader real easily. Okay, here's another one. See how you go down, 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 up, and then down again, and then this one goes up, that one goes down. Well, basically, you could have drawn your trend line right here first. Let me just redraw it like that. Okay, so when this crosses that trend line, you can put your stop just under the swing, and you get you another trade. Okay. This one here was this one. See, you went down, down, up, and then you went down again, but then up again. So you really didn't have your trend line to draw on that one. See what I mean? Because it never took out the swing. You didn't get that where you could draw a trend line. Okay. This one you did, though. See how this one all totally went down, and then up, 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 and then down. There's your trend line. Okay. Because what you're looking for is this thrust, retrace, and then break. Now, keep in mind you had to break this to get the identified swing, which you did break it right there. Now, on these type identified swings, you can use touches because all you're looking for is the zigzag. Okay. Did you get one here? High. You got a down, you got an up, you got a down, you got a down, you got a up, up, down. There's your trend line. See there? This one here, down, down, up. Now that one actually didn't qualify. See there? I drew that one, but it did not qualify because it didn't take out that swing. So that is not one. Okay, is this one? For a down? It is, isn't it? So could you get like a 10 ticker or something like that? Okay, let's go to the edge of the chart now. I was just showing you back on here, showing you how to get in these trades even after they've thrusted, but you've got to wait for the little retrace. Okay, you've got to wait for that little retrace. Now let's draw right here to give an example. See, I drew this little trend line underneath these lows. Okay, This was actually even a larger one right here, but notice how you went down, 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 up, down. You could draw a trend line right there, couldn't you? See, that could have been another trade right across there. Now, when they double top, if they double top quickly, you can get out of it, because you really want it to stair step up. Okay, could you have shorted this trend line? You really could, couldn't you? Now, let me show you what the chart actually looks like, because you're going to be amazed that this is actually a mid-band trade. But you can still get some great little trades like this. Okay, let me show you the actual chart. Just one sec. Oh, real quick before we go any further, though, notice that that is that trend line right there. See across here? Now, if I drew it with the lightning like this, see you're going up, down, up, down. You pretty much got your trend line, right? So could you actually take that trade when it broke that trend line? The answer is yes, and that was there. Let's see, it looks so different on each chart. That's the thing, Mindy, that you've got to actually realize. See, this is all this was so far. Isn't that amazing? That's this right here, but yet you could have shorted that with trend lines. Now, keep in mind that you're going to be talking about scalping when you do this. You're not talking about, going for gusto runs, because you can go with the trend. Now, I would highly recommend doing with the trend instead, okay, because you can clearly see you had thrust, retrace, thrust, trend line, thrust, retrace, double top, thrust, retrace, thrust, trend line. See what I mean? Thrust, retrace, thrust, trend line. See how that works? This one here was a little different. See how it went down, 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 then up, then that trend line. See that trend line? And that's the way you can really make really, really good money trading. And keep in mind that this is with the trend. I mean, we're talking about, sticking with the trend on trades like this. See there? Is this one here? Thrust, retrace, thrust. That would be too straight of a trend line at first. See what I mean? Then it went straight down. Then it started stair stepping. Could you draw the trend line? The answer is yes. Here's another one. Like so. So now let's see if we can go forward and do the exact same thing. Y'all want to try it? Now, we're not going to turn on ObjectTrader just yet, because I want to try to show you how to do these trend lines and the way they set up, because trend lines can definitely make you a beautiful, a lot of money, really. Let's see, is this in market replay? Yes. Are you going to draw these trend lines today while the market is moving, Pat? No, market's not moving today, but it will be on market replay. But let me just show you in real time. Now, look at this. What's happening right now? Anybody? Let's just keep watching it. I've got it going about 100 times, so it may go too quick. Let's just see. There you go. Is that a trend line? Let's just see if it is. Stops can be right here. Stops can be right here. Stops can be right here. Now you could still back one up, that way if you want to stay in a gusto, because you got a stair step. See how trend lines work? But notice that we didn't draw the trend line like this. And why did I not draw the trend line? Let me get rid of all these real quick. I'll show you. Why did we not draw the trend line like this? Anybody? Because you hadn't had any kind of a stair stepping. At that moment, you didn't know if this thing was going to take this out, and keep on trucking down. You have to have to where you get something where it goes up, pulls back, and that's your trend line. See it? Now, does this mean we couldn't have boxed this in here, seeing this hit support? Absolutely, but what I'm teaching today is going to be trend lines. See that support right there? Could you have actually traded that trade there? Yes. With a box type trade? Okay. It's super way to trade, everyone. You can see on your charts time and time again where you'll see these little pullbacks and these great places to get in. Okay, and don't fall for it if it doesn't, because now still watch your predictors and different things like that. Let's see, you don't draw it till across top of bars, but from top to top of retracement. Well, Robert, on your question, notice how this went. See, every one of these bars was straight down. Okay, this bar even went down, that bar went up. This was your first time to think that they could possibly draw a trend line. Now, what if this would have gone up and then gone next bar down and next bar down? You could have definitely drawn your trend line then more like that if it would have done that. It didn't do that. So what you have to do then is you have to actually get either a break, which that would be boxing it in, or to break some kind of a trend line. See your thrust, your retrace, tried to take out. Now, did it take out this low? No, but it did take out the trend line. Okay, so you're in the trade after that trend line. Okay. Let's see if we can find another one. Y'all want to do it? I'll just let it do its thing for a little bit. See if we can all pick it. Now remember, you got to get some kind of retracement. Now that's retracing a little bit. Is there a trend line there yet? No. See it? All that is just pull down and then straight back up. So you're still in this trade then, aren't you? See how it's stair stepping up, stair stepping up? No trend line again. See it? You're not getting a zigzag. This is a pretty strong move. You're still in from down here. You haven't gotten a re-entry. Now, you did get a re-entry on predictor. That's a different trade that we teach. That was just pretty much testing that support right there. All right, let's see. We're getting a little bit of a retracement. Let's see if we get a trend line. What do you think? What says the team? Let's see if we can get a trend line. Let me put these questions more to the top because we're getting quite a few coming in. Well, Robert, on your question, you're not really selling here unless you're going against the trend. Now, could you have taken this trend line, for instance, to the short side, like right here? Because this did qualify for the short side. See here? That's a trend line. See there? Yeah, you could definitely, if you're in the market to get quick shorts, but I would definitely put my object trader, if I go against the trend, I'd have one called I don't know, maybe against the trend type thing, and put it as a quick scalp. Like more than likely what I'd do is 3 contracts and go for 5 ticks, because that's definitely going against the trend. Would those all work out against the trend? I doubt it. Because see, here's pretty much a trend line right there. See it? And that didn't give you 5 ticks. So I'd be careful going against the trend. I would draw the trend lines with the trend. Now, could you draw it against the trend and take chances on them? Yes. But if for instance you get a trade and then another bar pops right up, I'd get the heck out of it pretty quick. But that's not my type of trade. But let's see if we can get a trend line type trade just real quick. So far you haven't, right, on where we're at, because you've got a thrust down, a retrace, but you haven't had any kind of trend line drawn in the chart yet. See if we get anything. Did have a predictor though. That's 2 trades right there on predictors, but we're talking about trend lines today. And there's your down candles. There's your up candle. That's a predictor, by the way. So I'd probably already be in it, but we're just talking trend lines. Now, is this technically a trend line here? Yes or no? Let's say you got up at 4:59 in the morning and you saw this. Is this actually a trend line that you would take? Anybody? Yeah, it could be, but you'd have to put your stop under the swing, wouldn't you? Let's draw it and see if it works. I have no idea, but let's just draw it. Let's see what it does. Oh, let's put our stop first, if we get in it. Okay, we're in it. Stop's going to be right there. Stop's going to be right here if this goes ahead and pops up. And there you go. Another trend line. Okay, now would you have felt a little heat on this? Yes. See how if you would have gotten in on this trend line right here, let's say you got your fill at, I don't know, just under 90. It did come back to a little bit lower. So if you had 2 contracts, you'd have felt $150 a heat, probably. Maybe 120, something like that. Okay? But that was a legitimate trend line, wasn't it? Because you got your thrust down, your retrace, and it tried to go down so you could draw your trend line. Okay, now I like it if it actually takes this out to draw my trend line even better. Because see, you have a thrust, retrace. See how this though started, then started stair stepping up because you had a low, higher low by a tick, and then it busted the trend line. Let's see if we can pick another one. By the way, did anybody trade this on Friday? Because I got up about 5 o'clock, and that's actually the area right there that I got into that trade. Remember, I showed it on Friday. Now, when I got up and I was thinking, wow, this thing has really gone up. I mean, I got up and from yesterday afternoon, well, day before afternoon, it had totally thrust. It had done a nice mid-band, but you had to be up at midnight to get it, or 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay? But can you clearly see that trend lines will work on these charts? Anybody? Because they will work. And keep in mind, you can always, well, let's see if we can just find another one just real quick. Candles down. Candle down. That's a candle up, isn't it? Now you need a candle down. Or you have to take out to give you a little swing. It doesn't look like it might not do it. We'll see. Now, is this actually risky right here to do it if it doesn't do any more than a trend line like this here in a minute? It could be, because you don't have any room to that top at all. I'd like for it to come down further. But let's just see if it actually, for the fun of it, if it actually worked. Yeah, it actually worked. A little bit more risky one, but it never went against you. How many of you kind of like trend lines on your trading? Because they can definitely work. I mean, there's not a question about it that they can work. Okay, let's see if we can get another trend line. What do y'all think? And by the way, you can draw your trend line. See how you got trend line right under here? You know, so far. See, like right across there? See how that's breaking that trend line right there? Now, if you're a gutsy type trader and you want to, you know, take that for a quick short, you certainly can, but I'd highly recommend going with the trend myself. See if we can get another one. We'll see if we can get another one. Get rid of all these and see if we can get one. That's pretty much on a major tear, isn't it? Remember on Friday morning when I said be very careful with oil because it had gone up an awful lot? Anybody remember that? It had, hadn't it? Just major. So let me ask a quick question. Where would you get in this thing like right now? What do you think? What if it doesn't retrace to like mid-band? Will it probably retrace for a trend line type break? Well, let's see if it does. So far, that's not, unless it breaks that little swing, because you have a down, down, up. It'd have to break this right here to give us a swing. It doesn't look like it's going to. So that's not a trend line. Keep it going. Let's see if we can get one. Down. Didn't break. Didn't give us a swing. There's one. There's one. Getting close to one anyway. Have a down, down, up. Now that's a little bit of a, well, we're going to draw it anyway, just for the fun of it. And then hopefully it'll give us even a better one as it goes, if it doesn't break our trend line. See how I drew my trend line way early. Okay, you're in, your stop's right here. Close of the bar. See if it works. Trend line. Came close to taking us. And there you go. Another trend line that worked. Now, after this came down the second time, notice here where it came down the second time, your trend line actually changed more like right across here. See it? Thrust, retrace, thrust. But in real time, as you're drawing them, you gotta know where, you know, put your stop and everything, just in case. See how that went down and that went up? That never took you out of that stop. That's why we like that exit on close. And usually you want to do it a couple of ticks under it too. Okay, that was a trend line. What do y'all think? Let's see if we can get another one. By the way, when I opened the room on Friday, we had a little box that draws. Let me see if I've got the box drawing first. See if we've got the box drawing from Friday. No, I'll go ahead and draw it from Friday. That would have been Friday, 7:59. Remember that little box that we drew? And I said, be careful with this thing. But see, you were already in this from lower if you had wanted to be with that trend line break to begin with. But remember, we talked about this trade in the room on Friday, boxing this little jewel in and taking, matter of fact, I called the trade on that bar right there. And there you go. Remember how we got that trade on Friday? That's exactly how you do trend lines, by the way. And if you do a trend line and it doesn't go your way just really quickly, with especially these little micro swings, you want to go ahead and get out of it pretty quickly. Okay. Now, when you're trading, one thing I want to teach you too tonight, and the new indicator is going to let you know this ahead of time. Okay. For instance, when you're looking at your charts, you got to realize that there's going to be a time that they're going to change directions. Okay. And I always talk about this, when we're in the room, like on Friday morning and everything, or Thursday or whenever it is, that we've got to know where the trend can change on this chart. Okay. Trend lines work also like under these lightnings. See how that's kind of starting to break that right here. Now, would you short this yet? No, not just if it broke the trend line, but this has had a pretty major thrust and everything, and you've got to draw your trend lines on your chart. See, that's lightning 3 to lightning 3. So that is definitely a good trend line. Okay, notice that it kind of took it out here a little bit, but that's still going lightning 3 to lightning 3. And matter of fact, it's a little off because it would be more like that right there. See where the dot is? Just draw it right through the dot. Same thing on this one. Okay, but where does this thing, if it was to decide to break, where would it change trends? Anybody? Well, the trend line is a pretty good indication, but also keep in mind that your lightning 3, if they ever break lightning 3, is a real good indication. Because remember, we actually called a short on oil in the morning time. See how it's breaking trend line? Okay, now would you box this in, or would you draw a trend line again? And the answer would be yes. See your little trend line right here? Like so. And let's watch this for a minute. You're not in. It didn't get you in your long. Where would it change trends? Anybody? Do you remember this on Friday? See that lightning 3 right here? This was actually drawn in real time. That if it broke this, you could short it. Remember? Because this is lightning 3. Now lightning 3, this is actually trending up on this side of the chart. What's it starting to do now? It's starting to trend down, but you don't know if this is going to be a phantom. But see, you can box it in. See how we boxed this in on Friday. We had a box here. Okay, and I also told people, if you missed that, where do you think this thing's going back to when it finally gets through with the thrust? And could you draw a trend line to take the trade? What do you think? Let's see if we can. We've got a thrust, and let's see if we can get a trend line. This will be an opposite trend line now, of course. Still heading down so far. You're not stair-stepping up yet. That's starting to stair-step up a little bit. If they take out lows, though, it's not stair-stepping. No stair-stepping yet. There's your trend line. You got a low, you got a high, you got a higher low, same low, so it's still not stair-stepping yet. A low. There's stair-stepping. A little bit, see it? So you're starting to stair-step a little bit, aren't you? Now, let me ask you a quick question on that. Is that actually, right now, is that drawing more of a trend line? So could you be ready to take this trade if it decided to break that trend line? Let's find out. Let's see if we can get into the trade at a proper time, and we're going to wait for it. Well, we've already missed that one, but let's do it again, see if we can get another one. We're going to have to stair step up first. That's stair stepping up. Now, how do you know it's stair stepping up? Anybody? Isn't it just doing that? It's just kind of, doing this. It's just kind of modulating around, right? So could a person actually draw under this? Let's say that we missed that one a minute ago over here, and it never really did it. This one is starting to stair step better. I'd draw two trend lines on this the way I see this particular one. I'd draw a trend line here, like so, and I'd probably draw a trend line here. See it? Like that. And the reason for that is because if you start from here, this is what it's doing, right? But if you start from here, this is what it's doing. So that's still that same stair stepping. See, it's got a low, higher, and it's basically stair stepping up. So that is a trend line. Let's see if we get something, if it actually works. Now keep in mind our predictors are pretty good too. Still stair stepping, right? There you go. Everybody see how to use this? This is, in my personal opinion, a very, very, very good way to trade. Okay, because you're going to find out, that if you'll draw your trend lines on your charts. Remember years ago we used to talk about Ys and upside down Ys? We never came up with a name for that particular trade. But see how I drew this one because I had this little stair step. So I drew it. And then I had this little stair step and I drew it. And there's your trend line break. Okay. Now, you notice I'm not using ObjectTrader today, as much because I want you to see these like in real time. See if we can actually tag these trades in real time and make some good decisions on getting into some trades. Let's see if we can get another one. Let's say you missed that one entirely. And keep in mind, this is really watching one chart. If you're trying to watch 4 charts, this is a lot more difficult to do because you got to see this in real time. See, that one actually was more of a box-in minimum criteria, and while I was just yakking here, I just missed it. That's all right. We'll get another one. No big deal. Let's see, that was up, 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 down. Let's see, up, 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 down, up. Yeah, that was actually a trend line, wasn't it? Except it never really broke the bottom. But if you drew your trend line like that, it still did get you in, but that's not my favorite one. Everybody see that? Let me see. Somebody's asking a question. Gary, can we go back and talk about the opening box that we took on Friday, please? You always say if it goes back in the box, get it. No, not talking about getting in the box. You don't want it to go against you very much at all. Okay, Pat, on your question. But remember, I said keep in that trade. Where did our box go? Right here, right? Now, looking at this in hindsight, of course, this was monster trade, right? And we got the tail end of it by opening the room at 7:59, 7:55 is when I open it. But If you were trading this particular trade here, though, okay, and you're doing this box, do you notice that you're still stair stepping? See how you're doing this right here? So if you got in on that bar that I called, where would your stop have been that very moment? Under that one, right? Because that was your last stair step. If you draw lightning 1, I think you'll see it. Let me see if I can draw lightning 1. See? So basically, if you would have gotten in this trade on this right here, I would have probably put my stop here instead of here, but lightning 1 said here. So if you got in, but keep in mind when you get in at the open, you really don't want it to start stair stepping back down on you to begin with. But I called that trade on that bar right there. It did come back and test it, but it never took it out. Let's see, my confusion comes when to get out if it goes back into the box. Well, keep in mind that this box is just simply a time marker on the chart, okay? But anytime you're trading, you're doing the stair-stepping motion, okay? Like if I could get rid of these bars on here so you can see this planar, we could go to that black chart and see if we could see that. That was at 758. Let's go to the black chart, see if we can see it better. 758. Okay, it would have been right in here. All right, so let's see if you could actually see this. I'm going to draw. We'll get rid of everything except start it right in through here instead, because we don't care about this back here. And we don't really care about lightning 3 right now. All right, so let's see. And we're going to draw 758. Well, let's just draw the little box. That's a better idea. Let's put the little box on here. We'll put regions. And we'll do it for 7:59 on Friday. And we'll probably need a white box with the zone opacity. We'll go ahead and go 10 on this one so it'll be a little bit brighter. And give it just a second. It'll get it ready. And get rid of your predictors. And all right, so your box was right here. Let's draw this from down here. All right, so let's look at this like we were doing it in real time. Now, the way I teach on identified swings, okay? So let's say you got in on that bar that I called that was over here. Remember, it was just over here. Okay, so at that time, your stop pretty much had to be right here, right? Just under that identified swing, because see, you're high, you're low, you're high or high. So that's your identified swing. Now, that's a little bit of a stop and an open, okay? So I usually just watch mine. And, if I get in and it goes up like this, and it did right off, but it came down and tested it, where was your identified swing? So where could your stop have been? So, in other words, let's say you're watching this in real time, okay, and I called that trade right inside that box, okay? Where was your identified swing? Here. Where was your identified swing when it took out this swing? It was here. So this would have been your stop at that open, literally just a couple of minutes afterwards, and it never took you out. See there? That's why I love lightning identified swings. Because see, this is real stuff right here. And remember that chart that I did? This one right here. This is actually me just drawing it, but drawing it, more to scale, so I could kind of show people a little chart so you can see what lightning does. But see, that's that same effect. See there? Higher lows and higher highs each and every time. And so each time, you just keep putting your stop in. So in this case, if this would have gone south on us instead, let's say that we would have gotten in on this bar and it just decided to go ahead and just tank it instead. Well, could you have shorted if it took out the bottom of the box? And then if it took out this swing and then this swing and then this swing? Yeah, just watch your lightning, because it would start stair-stepping back down instead of up. But see, that stair-stepped up. Until when did it start stair-stepping down? When it broke that. See, what if you would have drawn a trend line along those lows here? Now that would have probably faked you in here, wouldn't it? Okay, but where would your stop have been on this particular one if you would have gotten short on that trend line? Now, like I said, I'm not recommending getting short on a trend line, because I would go with the identified swing. If I would have shorted this, see the identified swing over here on the left? High, low, higher high, high, low, lower high, lower low when it took this out, but there's your identified swing on the left. So I wouldn't short this thing until it took this out, if I was even doing that trend line. Because you got to be careful with these little fakes on trend lines and things, and that would have been going against the trend at the time. But would it have been going against the trend at the time if you took out this swing? No, because that actually took out the left side identified swing. And notice how it just took it out and exactly kissed it. See how it took it out, kissed it, and then it headed down? Okay, so, when we're trading in the room and it's, somewhat hectic, especially it opens, not so much hectic, when we're just trading oil, it's not as hectic then, okay? But it is definitely hectic when the regular market opens. That's why I recommend trading no more than 2 charts. Let's see, do you use exit on close with that? Pat, on your question, usually I use exit on close on most of my trades, simply because I don't like to get wicked out of a trade. So exit on close works real well. Let me see if I miss anything else. Let's see. When did you exit kill a long and why, Robert? When did we exit that long? Remember, I actually called that out in the room. We had that trade set at what? Anybody? When it broke lightning. When it broke line 6, remember? Well, line 6 was way up in this area here. Let's go back to the original chart. Now, keep in mind that this little webinar chart that I teach on is a live chart. It just doesn't have bars on it. It makes it easy to see these things, okay? To me, it makes it real easy to see these things. Because looking at this, now this is in hindsight right now, but can you see, thrusting down, thrusting down, thrusting down, thrusting down? Where this would have been stair-stepping down until it started stair-stepping up. Could you have drawn a trend line across there? Yes. See, because at this time, see, you're stepping down. That's not an identified swing. It didn't take that out. It went higher, went down. Now that's your identified swing. Went up, went down. That's your identified swing. Went up, went down, did not identify. That's still your identified swing. See it? Okay. And then it goes down, takes this out. So this is your identified swing, or this one here. When they're close like that, I like to draw 2 lines. All right. So when did this start stair-stepping back up then? When you take out these identified swings. So see, you had a high, low, higher high. That was starting to stair-step up. Okay. So once you start getting that, can you start getting ready to draw those trend lines to short it again? Yes, and box. Okay. Let's see. Let's look at this and see where you're at right now. What does everybody think that's happening right this very moment on oil? This is after we close the room. What would you do if you walked into your trading computer and you saw what's happening right now? Anybody? Well, you're starting to stair-step up. See here? You have a low, you have a high, you have higher lows, and you are starting to stair-step up a little bit. But where would you draw a trend line, like if this was to decide to go short again? What do you think? Anybody? Well, let's see if we can draw it. See if we can get it. Hopefully I don't get it going too fast. See what it's doing. This is simply going with, all right, redraw our trend line. Oh, come on, get it here. Remember, identified swings on the left. There's your identified swing on the left right there. There's your identified swing on the left. I still consider this one to be. If it goes higher, we'll go with this one. But right now, it's right here. That's your identified swing. See how it's taking it out? Even took out this trend line. Kissed the trend line. So, if you would have shorted this right here, like so, when it took out this trend line, this part, not trend line, but identified swing to the left. See, you have a high, you have a low. You know, these are not giving you identified swings. Now, it did identify this one here. See where you have a high, low, higher, high. But keep in mind, until it takes out this on the left, this is your identified swing. So see how it kissed it and rolled over. See there? Kissed my line exactly and rolled over. So could you have actually shorted that trade? Yes. It's definitely a good way to trade. I had meant to talk more about true trend than I did actually as much today, but I wanted to go over, you know, more in like real time how to see these trades and to get into some of these. Okay, because trend lines can make a world of difference. You know, this one here, stair stepping down, stair stepping up, draw your trend line. But always look to the left to trade the right too. And if you can see an identified swing, you know, you got a trend line drawn. Well, if it breaks the trend line when it's pretty much this one right here, right? Okay, but then it starts stair stepping back up. Could you actually short if it took out like this little swing? Yes. High, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. That's secondary swing. That's primary swing. And you can clearly see you got it. Now, when I draw a line like this on my primary swing, I wouldn't probably take it when it barely broke that because I look at my secondary swing and that's when it broke the trend line. You can clearly see it. See it? That's when it broke the trend line. Because keep in mind, when you're looking at Lightning 1, you're really looking at secondary swings a lot more than just your primary 2. Did you learn a lot on that, Herman? Good deal. Let's see if I'm... Oh, and yeah, you could absolutely keep in mind that you can trade against the trend, you know, because there's several times could you have taken, for instance, you know, starting to break, could you take this trade long? And the answer is yes. Could you take this trade long? You know, you got a trend line going right through here. And even here, actually, but it didn't go down through, so I'd probably draw it like that. Yeah. Could you take this one? And keep in mind, though, that if you're going against the trend, you're going to want to just go for scalps. Yeah, because that turned out to be a monster nice long trade, didn't it? Absolutely. So does everybody get a little bit more grasp of trend lines, you think? Because they do work. Let's just go over what would happen, to give an example, on Monday. Y'all want to do that? Let's just see what would happen on Monday with where we're at. Well, it'd actually be Sunday night, pardon me. Okay, let's go ahead and advance this chart all the way so I can show. And we'll go over these trend lines so you'll be able to see them. Now keep in mind this is going to be after the fact now because it's already happened, but I want to show you where to get into some of these. Now keep in mind you're going to occasionally miss on one, because you got to draw the trend line correctly. Let's go ahead and go over here. It looks like it's starting to stair step up, doesn't it? Was that a phantom? No, because you had your rose color. Was this a phantom? Yes. Short. But that's phantoms. We're talking about trend lines today. Y'all want to see if we can draw a trend line again? Let's see if we can do it in real time. Y'all want to see if we can do it? Let's see. Oh, sorry. It didn't load. Just one sec. I see it. Okay, there's a thrust. Let's say that it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Here we go. See if we can get a pullback at all. There's our pullback. All right, now what are we looking for? Anybody? Trend line. Let's see if it works. In. There you go. Got you a scalp. Everybody see how cool that can work? You can definitely draw trend lines on your charts, and I think you'll be surprised that you can make some money doing it. Let's see if we can do it again. It's getting close to the close of it, but let's see if we can get another one. Got to start retracing first, right? Because we're looking for long, right? So we're looking for a retrace. Keep on trucking there, crude, and I'll draw a trend line on you. Now keep in mind you're still in this one, but we're going to look for another one, see if we can tag it. Still heading up so far, right? Now it's starting to stair step. Not stair stepping yet. You do have your down candles. There's your up candle. There's your another down candle. Could you draw a trend line yet on this chart? I see one, but it's a little bit different than I personally like. I'll bet we'll get a Y instead, but let's see. I'm going to draw the trend line. And then I'm going to draw another one if this happens to do another one of those. But we're not going to draw it just yet. I'm going to just hang it out there in limbo. See if we can get it. If we get an up candle, that's going to draw that other line. And then a down candle, of course. Okay, it closed up, so we're going to be able to draw our trend line. If that candle goes down. Got to go on 500 times so that's as fast as I can get it to go. Oh, wow. Kind of shotgunned at the close. Definitely worked, though, didn't it? That was probably a little bit different one to show because, see, that was getting right at the close of the market and everything. But you can clearly see that first trend line right there when it broke. If you got into it, put your stop here, it worked. Everybody see that? Was stair stepping down. Now what's it doing? It's starting to stair step back up. All you got to do is look at these these little candles and see that they're making higher lows each time they wick. Okay, so could that have been, see, we drew that ahead of time, so that's a legitimate trend line. A little sloppy because it was close to the end, but that's a legitimate trend line. Okay, now if you're not really used to drawing trend lines on your charts, keep in mind that you definitely want to look for that pattern that I talk about. You know, sometimes you'll miss a good one because here's one that started to be one like that. Let's say that you were looking at this in real time and you saw this thrust, retrace, thrust. So you draw your trend line, right? And then this is more that Y type. So you thrust down, you retrace, you're starting to stair step back up. Could you draw it like that? Yeah. Because that way you're not waiting to get in till all the way up here. Because the whole idea of it is that you're starting to, you know, break that pattern of stepping down to starting to stair step back up, regardless where it does it. To give an example, let's say that you were trading right here and you said, okay, I know it's retracing, but so far it's still stair stepping down. Well, when does it start stair stepping back up? There's a candle up, candle down, candle up. Could you draw a trend line? So it works quite often. You know, that's the thing about trend lines that I really like. And this feature that we've got on ObjectTrader, let me just show it to you real quick, and we're going to wrap pretty soon. The strategy called ObjectTrader, and Ninja 7 only right at this time anyway. This little feature right here called the wedge trade. Keep in mind that the way a wedge trade works, and you've always got to be conscious of this, because when you draw a trend line, let's say that I drew this trend line in real time right here, okay? That means that if I would have set this for touch plus like 2, all right, let's look at it. All right, that was 1, never fired. That was probably 2, so it would have fired. Maybe it might have had to get a confirmation, but let's just say it fired there. Put your stop just under here, and you were good, right? Okay, and keep in mind that when you use a wedge, if the price is below it, that's the T button. So be sure and turn on the T button, you know, for whatever trade you want to take. Okay, if the price is below it, or pardon me, above it, let's say that you were wanting to draw a trend line like under your lows, like on Lightning 3 to give an example. All right, and you decided, let's just say that this decided to go down instead. Let's say that you drew a trend line like right here, then you're really using the bottom because your price is, you know, it's not above it, it's below it. Okay, that's what you're actually doing. Okay, so if you had drawn a trend line like this, let's say that you had decided you wanted to short a trend line like this, and it did break it, then of course quickly you could see that if it did start stair stepping back up, you'd want to get out of that short and get long. Okay, because the one thing about trend lines is, and that's one of the reasons if I draw the larger one, I usually pull it back a little bit, simply because even Lightning 3 is fairly quick, especially if you get a lot of bars. Okay, and some stair stepping. So, you know, if for instance this was to decide to go short on Monday, I'd probably be drawing more this trend line right along in here, like so, because that's your true trend line on the larger type trade, thrust, retrace, thrust. You're looking at you're not looking at Lightning 1 and 2 then, you're looking at Lightning 3s, okay? All right, I hope this really helped. And I did hear from the programmer last night again, and he says he now has all 3 finished, which means Ninja 7 for the new indicator, Ninja 8 for the new indicator, and ObjectTrader Ninja 8, but I still don't have them yet. Okay, but he does say that he has now coded all of it. He was at the point where he hadn't gotten 7 on the indicator yet. Now, I haven't tested any of it, so we're still looking at some time. But some of these trades that we're looking at right here, this new indicator is going to call them out in real time for you. Okay, for instance, this is a predictor trade. This is also a minimum criteria trade. Box it in, get a great trade. Minimum criteria, box it in, get a great trade. Minimum criteria trade, again, box it in. See it? And it's going to call it out in real time, only with a certain color background and stair stepping. Okay? So hopefully, and an audio alert, that would be my voice, Ed. I don't think you'd want to hear that all the time. I don't know exactly what our audio is going to be like. I have no idea so far. Maybe he's using a computer generated, one. I'm sure we could record some, of those, what do they call those audio files? AV files, something like that. I'm sure we could record some and then call it up in the script. But we'll just go by what he does at first anyway. Maybe we'll have one that'll right in here when it gets this minimum criteria. It's going to go, dang. Y'all like that one? There we go. Dang. Yep. That'd be a good one. All right. How about the cowbell? Ding, 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 ding. All right, everyone. That's a wrap. I hope you got something out of it. Keep in mind that, even though we got this really tight trend line, there's another trend line setting up right now too. See it right here? Thrust, retrace. Is this actually like a little swing that you could draw a trend line on if you weren't in this trade yet? See, it's pretty much following that trend line right there. See it? Thrust, retrace. Could it be? Well, you already got in the tighter trend line that I drew before it ever happened, right? But what if you said, okay, I want one here and I want another one when it takes out that trend line? And then my target's right there. All right. Is Sunday evening a good time to trade Herman? Yes and no. And the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes right at the market open, they kind of shotgun it a little bit. And you can't use ObjectTrader to get in a trade like that because it's more based on market. I've actually even put like a bar close type trade, and you'd have the bar close here and your price would be way up here, and you didn't get filled till way up here. So, and I was only doing that in the sim. I don't, usually as a rule, I wait 2 to 5 minutes if I do trade on Sunday night. And if I see a good trade. If you're seeing that it's not looking like a good trade, like it's real choppy or something, then, just keep in mind that the trend lines will work best if you're stair stepping and if you're starting to stair step again. This is stair stepping down, trend line, stair stepping down. You can draw them just like I showed. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And keep in mind, the tool is right there for you to trade with too. Did I miss any questions at all? Let me see. I hope not. Robert, on your question, as a rule, I like to actually place my order on trendline breaks with a touch plus 1 or 2. A touch plus 1 is a 2 to begin with, and a touch plus 2 is a 3, because you have to have that confirmation tick. All right. I hope everybody learned something. Thanks for coming, and we'll do it again on Monday. And keep in mind that, when the markets have gone up major like they did on Friday, you can stay out of some of the chop. Just be careful with it. If you get in chop, then start using those predictors because they flat work. All right. Thanks, everyone. See, wait just a second. Neil said, Gary, is there a way to see potential 40-tick trades in advance? And if so, could you build that into the alert? Well, Neil, on your question like that, I believe personally that this little trade, like right here, to give an example, when you start breaking, you're, for instance, this was long right here, and this is like short right here, and that's a phantom type trade. Those are really good for 40-tick moves. Okay. And keep in mind on those, you want to pretty much go with the overall trend at the time. Like for instance, if you're stair stepping down, even when you get this phantom here, be more careful because it could be a downtrend instead. Because see, you're still stair stepping. So stay, the overall trend is absolutely the best. I will still take a phantom trade though. If I saw this trade in real time, I'd take that line 1, but I wouldn't let it close below line 2 again. And obviously that turned into a short instead. And we do box. Second line of Y is safer. Yeah, if you use that Y method, it is definitely a good safe way to do it. For instance, like right here, see when you had thrust retrace, you drew your trend line like so. All right, but as it still kept stair stepping up, you could actually draw it more like this. See as it starts stair stepping, so that's your Y. Yeah. Yeah, but keep in mind that this one's going to get you into more fake trades than this one will. Okay. All right, thanks everyone.